We've got 4 rounds to go of the 2015 FF1M season. Here's the first of those 4. Round 15, the Italian Grand Prix from classic legendary Monza. And for this I'm being joined by Courtney Cass from Shake and Bake.
Hey yo, my season's gone down the pan.
Yeah, Vettel's just lost his 5th win due to unreliability.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That must be a record.
It could be a record. I mean, it's got mirrors to the 2011 season, also won by Fernando Alonso in the Tornado, but Lewis Hamilton lost quite a lot of wins and could have easily won the championship.
Yeah, and Hamilton lost a lot of wins last season as well, but I think 4 maybe?
3 or 4, yeah.
So let's see if we can make it a repeat, because, guess what engine modes I'm running today?
3?
Maybe,
yeah, I'm on mode 3 as well. I did run mode 1 last time out at Spa, and both cars finished, so that didn't do too badly for me.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to affect my cars. Like, sometimes they blow up on 2, sometimes they survive on 3. Because in Hockenheim, I think. Oh no, did I have a double retirement in Hockenheim?
Yes.
Never mind.
Yeah, when I ran mode 3 in Hockenheim, I had no problems at all, but then turned it down to mode 1 for Hungary, and both engines blew up.
Yeah, I remember that. That was unlucky.
A bit unlucky. So there's the map of the Monza circuit using 2002 onwards layouts with the tight Rettifilio first chicane.
Yeah, I probably prefer that one, to be honest.
I do prefer driving on the older double chicane variant, but it's not bad, the new one.
Yeah, it's fine.
So there's an all-Meister front row with Kimi Räikkönen on pole position ahead of Felipe Massa in second. They've had a great season.
They have, yeah.
Second in championship, and Cooper Lee starts third ahead of Lewis Hamilton in the Excellite. That's a dizzying position for him. And 5th, Sebastian Vettel, potential championship contender if his season turns around, ahead of Nico Hulkenberg in 6th.
I think it's over, Red Rover.
Valtteri Bottas, the winner of the Belgian Grand Prix last time out, starts 7th ahead of Sergio Perez in 8th. Then we've got Jenson Button, the retiring Jenson Button, in 9th ahead of Daniel Ricciardo 10th. May Jenson get his first point in this race?
I kind of hope so.
Itsuki Yoshida starts 11th ahead of Romain Grosjean 12th, so we've got both Shake and Bakes in the top half. We haven't seen a Tornado yet. They're on row 7. Alonso ahead of Gonzalez. They are on the hards, and there's quite a few on the softs for this race, so that explains some of that. Nico Rosberg in 15th ahead of Jean-Eric Vergne in 16th. Rosberg heading over to Pedersen next season, alongside Nicholas Latifi.
How's he done in FF2M?
Okay, actually.
Yeah.
I'll get onto that in a moment. Kubica and Sainz 17th and 18th. Stoffel Vandoorne 20th, Antonio Felix da Costa 20th. And it's an all FJR back row. Kevin Magnussen will be 21st ahead of Benjamin Pryor 22nd.
Development season.
I've been developing ever since Silverstone.
I must admit that I think I'm looking forward now rather than looking at this season. I think that one in Spa was like, yeah. Anyway.
That's the door closed on development for this season for Shake and Bake. So 5 lights go out, and Kimi Räikkönen gets away well ahead of Felipe Massa. Pole position on the inside going into the first corner. Looks like Vettel's not had a great start. He's already dropped down to 5th. And look at that, we've got contact. Bottas shoving a
pile up there.
Yeah, and the Mitchells are flying through the order. Massa's in the lead ahead of Nico Hulkenberg in 2nd. Then we got Räikkönen 3rd. It looked like Hulkenberg challenging for the lead, going through Curva Grande. Let's see that. Hulkenberg's taken the lead. That's an impressive start for the Mitchell driver, who's on his way to FJR next season. And Valtteri Bottas challenging for 3rd position. That's a position gained. And FJR's had a flying start. Which one is that? That's Magnussen, who's stormed from 21st to like 13th or something. 12th!
Jeez Louise.
What a start. Now then, Felipe Massa's going to try and challenge for the lead back, going down one of the straights into the Ascari chicane. This is probably one of my favourite chicanes, other than the 2nd bus stop and the swimming pool.
That's a good one, yeah.
Cooper Lee challenging Kimi Räikkönen for 4th. And look like contact between Da Costa and Magnussen. Magnussen, there's debris on the track, and that's Da Costa out, I think. No, he's not. That's quite a lot of damage. That was Gajera that hit him, I think.
Yeah, Gajera had half a front wing.
And the Andrew Racing's got no wings. As Felipe Massa crosses the line to start lap 2 from the lead. And it's Nico Hulkenberg second, but how much longer? Because Valtteri Bottas is lurking large. Not quite close enough to make a move. Now Cooper Lee versus Kimi Räikkönen into the first chicane. And that's a position gain for the Mitchell. And Vettel versus a Pedersen. And that's contact. And there's an Excellent trying to take advantage and going off the track.
That button.
Of course it is Jensen.
Jensen's having a absolute toilet of a season.
Absolute pig of a season. And Alonso, look at that, way down in 17th position. So Alonso can win the championship, but only if he wins. And since he's down in 17th, that does look unlikely.
Tobias has got the right idea, though, at this point, when he's got a nice lead, stick him on the hards, not very many errors, turn the engine down. You know, he can quite comfortably afford to, just bring it home and take as many points as possible rather than go guns blazing.
Somewhere on this lap, Rosberg has just taken Kimi Räikkönen. That's Gonzalez versus Magnussen for 10th position through the Ascari. Magnussen hanging on. There's Daniel Ricciardo went off at the moment. And Yoshida's off as well. Has there been contact between Ricciardo and Yoshida? Well, having a look at the replay of the start, this is on board with Fernando Alonso because he was starting on the right-hand side. Lost a position to Gonzalez. And then what happens here? It got a nerf from behind, and now it's just dominoes. And he's stopped. So Alonso getting caught up in some sort of shenanigans at the first chicane. Does something else happen? Or is it just... Well, that was just a wretched traction out of that corner and just a bad start in general.
It was like the first corner down at your local karting venue, that.
Yeah.
Absolute mayhem.
This is Felipe Massa, how he got ahead of Hulkenberg. That was on the first lap. So Hulkenberg had taken the lead through Curva Grande, and then Massa retook it going through the back straight into the Parabolica. And this was on board a GRM up the inside. That's Bottas taking second off of Hulkenberg. I think we're back live. And now we are back live. Cooper Lee up the move, up the inside of Hulkenberg. So he's...
Ooh.
Oh, nice contact. Lee versus Hulkenberg. Lee just about making the corner. And Hulkenberg spinning. Well, his bad season's just got even worse. He's not had a good season. And
he's going to be there for a while.
That's Magnussen getting away with one there. And look at Benjamin Pryor storming down the inside of Stoffel Vandoorne, I think. Gaining quite a few positions, or maybe saving a few positions. But Hulkenberg and Verne versus Magnussen. That's
tried to mount him. Keep it PG, people.
Grosjean going off in his own accord there. So that's like look at Benjamin Pryor.
There was a FGR that.
Oh goodness me! The three off. There's two cars off. There's an Andrew and there's a Gajira. There was three wide into the Lesmo. Just didn't work.
That was an absolute flustercluck, that corner.
Yeah, I think it was Benjamin Pryor trying to take advantage of the slow exit and just resulting in the retirement of Verne and
it was this button about to blow up, is it?
That the engine that you saw blowing up.
So he's slowed right down. It's caused a bit of traffic jam, hasn't it? And
yeah,
I'd pull over to the side if I was in there.
And there was the three wide moment.
Yeah, and that ended as you'd expect, really.
I think Pryor just about got away with it as well somehow. Actually, it was the Andrew that was trying to take advantage of that, and then Pryor bumping the Gajera out of the way. I think it was Jean-Eric Verne. Here we are on board with the Frenchman. So he makes a move on Magnussen, but not enough room ultimately. And Grosjean just going off for no reason. And then look out for Pryor on the inside. Well, Verne kind of just turned in, didn't he? Do you reckon he just turned in, or was it just a 3 into 1 didn't go?
Well, how many times do you see people going 3 wide into Lesmo? You don't see it often. I think there's a reason.
Yeah, that's the reason. So Pryor making an absolute out-bombing manoeuvre on the Andrew of Ricciardo. And then up the inside now. Let's see how much room does he give. Yeah, plenty of space. But off goes Pryor. But I think he does rejoin. And there's the on-fire button. Now Nico Rosberg on what is probably a higher engine-moded Willows. They tend to run the higher engines.
Willows has done what I've done this season in that I assume because of the reliability he's been running higher engine modes throughout the season, and because you have a string of DNFs you think, well, I need to take more risks now, so I'll keep the engine modes high, and it's a vicious cycle. So
it's just Rosberg versus Lee into the Ascari chicane, and Lee just about making the corner, but now he's under pressure from Kimi Räikkönen. Can I make a recommendation to Excellite, or maybe one of the other teams looking to replace a driver? Sign James Clark for the final 3 races, because he's just won the FF1M Championship. Beat Max Verstappen.
Aren't you in the market for temp?
I already am running my temp, and then running my other temp for the next 2 races.
You could get a temp.
I'm going to temp that temp. Now, what's happened to the order? Bottas has taken the lead from Massa. We probably should have paid attention to that. So the GRM on the move.
We had a bit of a Crofty moment there. We were just starting to spout useless stats while something was happening on the track. I do like Crofty. That was mean, but sometimes it's like just look up from your stats sheet, Crofty.
And an FJR taking Alonso, Magnussen versus Alonso for 10th position. That battle's going to rage a bit as Sebastian Vettel is now on the move, taking 5th position off of Kimi Räikkönen, long before they reach the braking zone for the Roggia chicane.
Vettel said to Kimi, "I'll Roggia." He certainly did.
Speaking of which, here comes Alonso back at Magnussen for 10th position. These two are probably going to battle for quite a while, or at least up until the first round of stops. That's 10th place. There's yellow flags up in front, so has somebody pulled off with a gremlin? It's Vettel!
I was about to make the joke. I was going to say there's a shake and bake up ahead, but I don't think this is going to be an engine failure. I think this is going to be an incident.
So it turns in no problem into the Parabolica, and then does he get a bit wide? He gets a bit too wide and then spins off into the gravel.
That was a bit silly, wasn't it? He is on the softs, so...
Yeah, more error prone.
Evidently more development needed on the softs.
Gonzalez...
Does the development from this year carry over into next year?
Well, I'll answer that question in a moment as we look at Gonzalez trying an optimistic one on Sergio Perez into the first chicane. Now he's got the Alonso-Magnussen battle to deal with. And 2 tornadoes, well, they've already collided quite a few times this season. Are they going to do so again into the Roggia chicane? That's Alonso making a move. That was very clean.
Yep, that's what he needs if he's going to be taking home that nice crown today.
Well, he needs to finish first if he's to stand any chance of winning a championship. If he does finish second, with Vettel out of the points, he would still be 36 points ahead, but Vettel has got an advantage in terms of more wins.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, he can still outscore him in terms of wins on countback. That's Gonzalez versus Magnussen for 9th position now. And Roman Grosjean looking to try and take advantage of a slow exit for Magnussen. Up the inside into the Parabolica. And that's 10th position for Roman Grosjean. But Magnussen hanging on round the outside. I'm loving Kevin Magnussen. I'm quite glad I'm keeping him for another season.
He's good there, hanging on around the outside like a pesky Klingon.
I was going to say like Eminem. Round the outside, round the outside.
Ah, okay. I prefer my analogy.
Yep. And still round the outside, Kevin Magnussen hanging on to that position. And this is Kimi Räikkönen having a look at Cooper Lee for 4th position, going into the Ascari. Lee shutting the door very aggressively. He's going to try and hold on to that 4th position. Mitchell desperately needs some points. They do sit last in the Constructors' Championship.
Not a good season.
No, and...
Possibly the best-looking car, but not a good season.
We've had some good-looking cars on this grid.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's one of them, now taking 4th position. His teammates up in 2nd, so Meister having a good race so far. This is Magnussen versus Grosjean as a new fastest lap for Fernando Alonso. So now that he's got some clear track, he's flying a little bit as Magnussen tries to defend that position off of Roman Grosjean.
I didn't think they were going to get through there.
There was a little bit of contact.
Right, Magnussen's going to get a bad run. Yep.
A little bit of a bad run out of the first chicane.
For whatever reason, the AI struggles on that line. By the look of it.
And Pedersen don't have access to higher engine mode, so it's going to have to be a bit of a brave one from Grosjean. But he can't do it.
Grosjean's not short of a brave one. He's just not short of pulling it off.
Coming up to these two are Carlos Sainz and Nico Hulkenberg, the recovering Nico Hulkenberg, as Alonso's now already up to the back of Sergio Perez for 7th position. Trying to take the outside line. He's already got him. Look at that. That's got to be higher engine modes versus the customer team without access to higher engine modes.
Maybe mode 2, probably.
Could be Mode 3, I think.
I don't think he'd be that far towards the back in Mode 3. Actually, mind you, because they all run Mode 3 in quali, don't they? And
yeah.
I think the Climax has got probably not the strongest ERS.
I think they've got the strongest ERS.
Do you think?
Yeah, because Meisters are using that to full effect to qualify up the front nearly every time.
Yeah. Well, how come they were so far down the fields this time then?
The Tornadoes are one of 4 teams just running hards, like the rest are on softs or mediums. Yeah. But it's another new fastest lap as Vettel takes his teammate for 15th position.
Let's see if he makes the corner this time.
There's a new fastest lap for Fernando Alonso, by the way, and Vettel no problems this time at the exit of Parabolica. So he's up to 15th position, which is 8 positions further back from that driver there, Fernando Alonso, who's now powering his way past Lewis Hamilton for 6th position. Another position gain. So next target to Cooper Lee is 5.2 seconds up the road. How long will it take for him to catch up to him? As Kevin Magnussen going through the Roggia chicane. Now on his own a little bit. I think Grosjean has... Oh, way up. Oh dear. Bosh. Kevin Magnussen crashing out of the race. So that's not good.
I was worried for a second there because I looked back on the recording software and I couldn't see any lines on mine, but I don't think I'd said anything for a while. And then when I looked back, there was Magnussen sans wheels.
Look at that kerfuffle. We just saw Thomas Gonzalez taking a position off of Sergio Perez, but I think Grosjean and Hulkenberg and Sainz and Benjamin Pryor are having quite a little scrap for what is now 11th position. Hulkenberg versus Sainz is 10th position, actually, and Sainz trying to hang on round the outside, but not quite managing. Look at Benjamin Pryor trying to take advantage of that, not quite managing it, and he's now got Sebastian Vettel all over him, side by side through the Curva Grande. Better be careful. Pryor's an inexperienced little fella.
I wouldn't want to be in that position in real life. Somebody who wasn't that experienced. Oh, good run here.
That's on Carlos Sainz. Hulkenberg just taken that position off of him, going through the Roggia chicane, and Vettel moving up ahead of Sainz at the first Lesmo.
Good recovery drive so far, but there's so many recovery drives. It's become like the real Sebastian Vettel of like 2019, 2020.
And Benjamin Pryor having a think on Carlos Sainz into the Ascari, but Sainz defending aggressively, Alonso into the pits. So one of the first to make a pit stop. Expecting 2 stops all around here.
Tell you what, Pryor is doing alright because a bit further down than Magnussen was, but he's still in the race.
And that was 29 laps of fuel that Alonso had taken on board, which will take him to lap 43. And look at this, he needs to get out ahead of this lot. There is Sebastian Vettel trying to make a move.
Oh dear.
Oh dearie me, that's championship battle right there.
Yeah, that's a bit nasty, isn't it? That's a bit ugly.
Whoa, and Alonso, he's still ahead.
All right, yeah, he's made it.
Yep, but for how much longer? Because he's got an onslaught which consists of 2 Germans and a Welshman.
Oh, this is not going to end well.
Oh, Hulkenberg, the inside now of Alonso. Now Pryor's up the inside of Vettel. And Hulkenberg takes a position off of Fernando Alonso. And Pryor retook Vettel, who's now got Carlos Sainz right behind him.
Okay, so yeah, I would have felt kind of bad if the championship got kept alive because Vettel took Alonso out.
I'm just picturing Tobias's reaction to all that. Now Alonso's got Benjamin Pryor to deal with. And Pryor, well, he tried to take the outside, but he's had to back off. And now that's put... No, he had to back off because he took the wrong line.
Oh, right.
That's put Vettel back up another position. So a lot of drivers having some adventures in this race so far, and we've got side-by-side Sainz and Yoshida in the background. But we concentrate on Vettel for the moment. It was a bit close, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought that was going to be a Bertie Irvine moment there.
And Sainz having a really terrible exit at the exit of that corner. Oh, who's this off? That's a Meister. It's Felipe Massa. He'd taken the lead briefly because Bottas had made a pit stop, but he's now pulled off with a gearbox problem. So that's one Meister out and levitating as he gets craned away. And off goes Vettel.
Again, and he's going to make the wall.
He's out. Vettel out of the race, so going off at the first Lesmo and retiring pretty much at the same time as Massa.
And I'm going to take a nice long swig of my glass of wine.
So Vettel has joined Magnussen in pretty much the same place. Now we have a look at Hamilton versus Gonzalez as Nico Rosberg, race leader, comes into the pits. So that's 4 laps later than Alonso, and Gonzalez in the pits as well. Let's see how much fuel he takes on board.
Too many errors, Sebastian. Too many errors. There was a season a while back, I think it might have been 2013, where he was crashing all the time as well.
Was it 2014?
Might have been
In 2013 he was invincible.
Yeah, you're right.
25 laps of fuel going on board Gonzalez, so he'll be back in the pits on lap 43. So they're all taking long middle stints as he rejoins right in front of Benjamin Pryor, who's not going to take that one lying down. Gonzalez just about giving the Welshman enough room.
He's doing all right, his old Priory.
He is, yeah. He was a bit cautious at Spa, but probably Mode 1 had something to do with it. Now he's up the inside of Gonzalez, going into the Roger chicane. He's upholding FJR honour because he's the only one remaining, and he's up to 9th position.
I do wonder if AJ... Oh, hold on a minute. I've got Sainz.
Sainz versus Gonzalez going into the first Lesmo. As into the pits comes Kimi Räikkönen.
I'm going to say, I wonder if AJ has given the drivers stats in terms of how much they rely on the setup. So how much they benefit from a setup. Because I suppose like real life Vettel, he doesn't like a unstable rear end, does he? And like maybe Button. Ooh.
Alonso versus Hulkenberg going through... Is that Hulkenberg or is it? No, it's Cooper Lee. Alonso taking 7th position off of Cooper Lee. And is that Alonso? It's Thomas Gonzalez making contact with the Pedersen of Perez going through the first chicane.
You'll probably get him in the next corner now because I think Perez will have had a slow run.
Not that slow, actually, so he may have to wait until the Ascari chicane, as into the pits comes Lewis Hamilton, temporarily in second. I
do wonder if that's why Button's had such a poor season, because, real-life Button's very prone to set up. So I do wonder if AJ's maybe built it in anywhere that certain drivers, if you do, instead of performance testing, you do testing for the setup for the individual race. I wonder if he'd benefit more than other drivers, perhaps. I don't know.
Hamilton exit. Oh, big contact between Hamilton and Lee, and they're still going at it through the exit.
A bit of a smooch there.
Cooper Lee like, not having any of that at all.
It was like watching an episode of Robot Wars.
That was ridiculous, let's be honest. And, there's karma. Cooper Lee's engine has blown up.
He's going to go back and carry the Robot Wars theme when he goes back to his garage and finds Sergeant Bash in the form of his manager.
Yeah. And Sergeant Bash also goes by the name of Mitchell.
Sounds a little bit erotic, though, doesn't it, Sergeant Bash?
Yeah.
Like, it probably gave off the wrong vibes there.
Let's put Benjamin Pryor into the points, and Robert Kubica up to 9th position. And there goes Carlos Sainz up to 10th position. So, as Lee's engine continues to launch itself, let's recap the order at half distance. Valtteri Bottas quietly going out his way at the front, as the Pedersen getting a bit blinded by the fog. 7.2 seconds behind Bottas is Nico Rosberg in the Willows. Kimi Räikkönen 3rd with Alonso 4th. Gonzalez 5th, Perez 6th, Hulkenberg 7th, and Benjamin Pryor up to 8th position. Seen Kubica's made 2 stops, so I think he was one who lost part of his front wing in that opening lap. In that instant with, it must have been Da Costa. And who's got an electrical problem? It's Sergio Perez. So Pedersen have had a very bad season in terms of reliability, and mechanical gremlins have come in.
I think everyone's had a bad season for reliability.
Well, the most reliable cars have been the Andrew Racings, with only 5 retirements between the 2 drivers altogether. And then Tornadoes have been quite reliable.
Oh, he's not making that corner.
Nope, that goes Roman Grosjean out of the race. The wheel flying back onto the circuit. Did somebody hit it?
I think it did.
Yeah.
I think it bounced back out, so I don't know if someone's...
Oh, it's Gonzalez out of the race. That's from 5th position. So 1 Tornado's gone. That's 3 Climax cars, maybe 4 Climax cars actually out of the race.
It's a suspension failure, that one.
Yeah.
With a Climax engine. Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
They're shredding the suspensions to pieces.
I think they've been bouncing on that suspension too much, that Climax. Do you get it?
Ah,
Yeah.
gotcha.
I was just using that as like a esoteric way of going around to my sponsors, Love Honey.
Yeah.
And does your bed need a stronger suspension? Visit the lovehoney.com for bed suspension.
Those pauses means that you're kind of struggling for improv.
Lovehoney.com.
We've got a battle for 6th position now between Benjamin Pryor and Robert Kubica. Pryor's had a storming race from 22nd on the grid to run 6th, and he was 6/10 behind his own teammate as well, who only qualified 21st, so he's done well.
Lovehoney.com.
Through the Curva Grande we go, on board with Kubica. Let's see the difference in engine power. FJRs are running mode 3. Gajera's engine is quite powerful, so they might not have needed to run much higher engine.
Well, you're running mode 3?
I am running mode 3, yeah.
Oh, I thought you were running like lower engine modes for... Oh, I suppose you will have submitted your testing sheet, won't you?
Yeah. I ran mode 1 for Spa last time out.
Yeah. So I would have thought if you ran mode 1 for Spa, you'd be running lower modes.
Zoom up the inside goes Robert Kubica to take 6th position off of Pryor. Now, what can Kubica do about Nico Hulkenberg, who is sat right there in 5th position? So he's recovered quite well after being spun round in the early part of the race. I've no idea who by now, but if you rewind the footage, you'll be able to find out. I think mode 3, it's just too big. It's just too much not to run mode 3 at a place like Monza.
Yeah, I suppose you're right, yeah. It would make a lot of sense. You just got to do it. Go big or go home.
Mind you, the leader at the moment doesn't have access to higher engine modes, and it's the Mugen Engines GRM of Valtteri Bottas, who's... GRM had a bit of a rough patch from Silverstone onwards, but Spa, they got it back together. And so far, with 12 laps to go, Valtteri Bottas is doing a very good job from the race lead as he dives right into the pits. Hard on the brakes, down to 50 miles an hour, or 81 kilometres an hour. There's I think Yoshida's in the pits as well. Just saw the shake and bake in the garage. And Lewis Hamilton also into the pits from 10th position. Rosberg in the pits as well. So second round of pit stops well and truly under the way. Underway, not under the way. And rejoining, still in the lead, is Valtteri Bottas. Just behind there is Kimi Räikkönen. Still in second, but yet to make a second pit stop. So going around the Parabolica, we're having a look at Benjamin Pryor, about to make his second pit stop of the race. Also into the pits is Nico Hulkenberg.
His head shaking as he plants down the brake to meet the speed limit line. His head shaking a little bit like a rampant rabbit, now on offer at lovehoney.com. 30% off with sponsor code Shake and Bake.
6.7 seconds is the stop for Benjamin Pryor, quite slow compared to some others. Oh, somebody's just retired from the race. I didn't quite catch who it was, but it's Sergio Perez having a look at the inside of Robert Kubica for 6th position, and he's got that. Now Kubica's got Benjamin Pryor to deal with. Kubica rejoined ahead of Pryor, but not far in front, actually. Perez has made his final pit stop, so that is a genuine 6th position as Antonio Felix da Costa comes into the pits. It's Fernando Alonso. He's in 4th position at the moment, looking to challenge Kimi Räikkönen for 3rd. Now, Alonso can't win the championship unless he finishes 1st. And at the moment, he's, give or take, about 15 seconds off of the race lead, but we'll have a look at the gaps once the graphic changes at the bottom.
Well, Vettel's done his part.
Yeah, by crashing out at the Lesmo. I mean,
exactly.
You said on the error-prone soft tyres, Magnussen crashed off at the same point, but he was on the hard tyres. So that doesn't do his stock much good.
Well, maybe there isn't quite as much in it in terms of error-proneness as we think.
Yeah.
In the mind you, it sounds like a mad question, but how much testing have you done on the hard tyre? Because it doesn't need that much testing, therefore I've barely tested it at all. So maybe some people who have done less testing, it isn't actually that much less error prone, if you follow my drift, because it's always worth testing the ones that need more, isn't it? So
yeah, I mean, at Hungary, where errors are particularly punished. That was where we saw a lot of errors of drivers on the softs. It was those on the hards that benefited quite a lot, particularly the Meisters and the Andrews. I did run the softs in Hungary and I didn't see any of my drivers make mistakes, so I think I have tested quite a bit on the softs. Probably not so much on the mediums and definitely not so much on the hards, but yeah, something like that.
Maybe. Not that I know what I'm doing. My car's in the hedge, so clearly I'm no pro.
Well, at the moment, Kimi Räikkönen knows what he's doing. Now, Perez has dropped down to 9th position. I think he's made another pit stop because he's showing us 3 stops. He obviously had that mechanical issue halfway through, so he couldn't quite bring his second pit stop early. So Perez has now dropped to 9th position behind Pryor and Sainz. So he's got a bit of work to do if he's going to score points. We're going through the Roger chicane. There is a battle for third between Kimi Räikkönen, who, unlike Courtney Cass to my right, knows what he's doing.
Yeah, Kimi Räikkönen is indeed the pro. And that leads me on to another one of our sponsors today, the Thrust Pro Elite Natalia Life-Size Realistic Sex Doll, down from 1699.99 to 1359.99, and use code Vettel crashes too much.
And can Alonso thrust his way past Kimi Räikkönen going into the Parabolica? Yes, he can. No, he can't.
Oh, no,
Räikkönen riding round the outside.
Speaking of riding, no, that was my last ad read.
But here comes Alonso. He's now side by side with Räikkönen. He's taken third long before the braking zone. That's third position for the Tornado driver. If they finish 61 points ahead of Meister, then they are the Constructors' Champions. But we'll have to wait until the race is actually over before we see that confirmation. At the moment, they are on the penultimate lap, and Bottas, well, he's still doing a superb job out in the lead, and yeah, not much other to say than that, other than he's doing quite well, and GRM having a good season once again. Looking on course for his 4th win of his career.
Yeah, he's been solid this season, to be honest.
Yeah.
He's been blighted by reliability quite a bit as well. I seem to remember him pulling off from decent positions a few times, and I think, did he one spin it from the lead?
Yes, he binned it in Estoril.
Yeah. I think that was one where Vettel picked up the pieces.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he would have won that race if it weren't for 2 or 3 cars retiring out the lead.
Absolutely, and a new fastest lap for Fernando Alonso on his penultimate lap, as I think he's just having a bit of fun now that he's got past Kimi Räikkönen. So, Bottas has kind of been a bit of a revelation for GRM, because ever since he joined them in 2013, he took that win in the wet in Hungary. And
yeah, that was unexpected.
Yeah, by far the most unexpected win in recent time, that one. And then 2014, he took the win when Jenson Button pulled off on the final lap in Canada.
Oh, yeah.
It's still quite brutal. And then, obviously, at the last race at Spa, he took advantage of Vettel's puncture late in the race. But this one has been a pretty dominant performance from Bottas, and probably the first win which hasn't been completely inherited.
Yep, very much on merit, this one.
Yeah, as out of the final corner comes Flying Finn version 3, and it's win number 2 of the season for Valtteri Bottas in the GRM. Well done. And that's a fast race as well, 1 hour and 9 minutes to complete 52 laps.
Oh, wow. That is they must be running some pretty brutal top speeds.
Yeah, in this particular engine formula, which I must say does work.
Yeah,
I do like this engine formula.
Yeah, it's good.
So it's confirmation of the race result. 4th career win for Valtteri Bottas ahead of Nico Rosberg in the Willows. Solid result for Rosberg, and pretty much where Willows expect after quite a lot of unreliability.
Yeah, Willows I was saying earlier that a lot of teams have been very unreliable, but I think Willows has been the most unreliable, so
yeah,
that feeds into our presumption that they're running higher engine modes.
And Alonso taking 3rd, Raikkonen 4th, Hulkenberg 5th, Kubica 6th, and Benjamin Pryor gets points for 7th. That's a solid drive from the Welshman, and it means that still Jenson Button is the only driver without points.
Oh, that's brutal.
And completing the top 8 is Carlos Sainz. So it's 2 GRMs in the top 8. And actually on Benjamin Pryor, my other test driver will be in the car for Sepang and Shanghai. That's the Uruguayan Cristobal Alvarez, who took 3rd in the final FF1M race. Speaking of which, entries for the FF1M Asia Series will open tomorrow. So get your entries in.
We've got a couple of new people on the Discord, haven't we?
Yes, we look forward to seeing their entry and if they're wanting to submit an entry for FF1M Asia. And there's a long list of retirements. There they were. So Alonso 34 points ahead of Sebastian Vettel now. Vettel needs to win the last 3 races if he's going to stand any chance.
I think the moment's gone, I'm afraid.
And in fact, Vettel's only 5 points ahead of Kimi Raikkonen and 12 points ahead of Valtteri Bottas. Yeah, both of those Finns have jumped Thomas Gonzalez in the standings. In fact, Raikkonen might have already been ahead of Gonzalez before this race, but now Gonzalez has got 2 Finns in front.
And Meister, really good first season. Again, they've retired a lot from promising positions as well, so it could have been even better. They definitely, if anything, deserve to be higher than where they are currently. But
And Tornado, 51 points ahead of Meister, so their Constructors' Championship is not won yet, but they could quite easily win both championships at the next race. Shake and Bake 3rd, GRM now only 4 points behind your team.
Yeah, we've really fallen down here.
And Gajera just 1 point behind GRM, and the battle for last really hotting up. The bottom 4 teams separated by just 3 points, and they're not far off behind Andrew Racing. So that's the end of the European segment of the FF1M season. We move over to Southeast Asia for the Malaysian Grand Prix at Sepang. From the 2 of us, we shall see you then.
Bye bye, remember, use the code Shake and Bake.